Hello everyone and welcome to 2016. It is 2016 and let's take a look at some of the things that we would like to see from Star Wars The Old Republic. This is our 2016 wish list. We're going to take a look at some of the things that we're going to want. Did this last year? Did we get everything? No. No, we didn't. Barely anything that we got from last year's wish list. But we're going to start this list off with number one, and that is what the number one thing that I want: better quality control. Okay, we cannot have these patches being released with bugs in them. We had 4.0, pretty buggy. We had quite a few major bugs, like we couldn't field respec. You know, that was or we couldn't set our utilities when we did the field respec, which was really annoying. We had to go through a loading screen. So I want them to focus more on bug fixes. That, of course. Then, of course, we had the debacle with the Christmas events, the Life Day events over the holidays, which none of them worked. The Life Day event worked, but the Rat Ghoul event and the Bounty Contract event didn't work, and people could not get their Dr. Loken or Leoric, I can't remember. It's Loken, I'm pretty sure. Loken or Leoric, you know, they're both scientists. They both turn into rat ghouls. I don't know, one's a companion, one's a boss in Lost Island. So yeah, their names sound similar. That I can't remember what they do really. But that's the number one thing I'd like to see, is definition between Leoric and Loken. I don't remember. They're both mad scientists that turn into rat ghouls. Okay, very lot in common. So yeah, a lot of people couldn't get the companion, the rat ghoul companion, we'll call him. So you know, you couldn't get that because, and a lot of people would have been playing over the holidays and expecting these events, and they had these events advertised. At least they mentioned they did release the event schedule in October. You know, so 2 months they had to test that at least. And you'd imagine they'd have had that internally, decided that internally before that. You'd imagine a few months before that, maybe August, September. So they had plenty of time to test it. That's the other thing, test. Okay, test, better quality control, better Q&A, more reliable patches. Not a patch that's released and then 2 days later we're back patching again, or the patch that takes fucking 18 hours to download. We've had that as well. You know, make sure everything is right. And starting from 4.1, I'd say better quality control, because 4.1 launches on, what was it, February the 11th it is, with Chapter 10. Really need to see some better quality control, because we did the video saying that that's what's going to kill this game, is the lack of testing and the lack of quality control. So that is my number one request for 2016, that we have better quality control. This mentality of release now, patch later hurts the game. It hurts the game, because whenever there's a new patch, people come back to the game. Whenever you have a new patch or a new expansion, people will come in just to check it out, and if it's broken, they're just going to piss off. That's what they're going to do. They're not going to stick around. You attracted quite a lot of new players over December, and although the server populations were high due to the movie, how many of them will stick around? And Origin had a decent offer on, you could get 60 days plus pet, plus some cartel coins. I think it was what, 20 odd dollars or something like that. It was £16 here in the UK. Not a bad deal. Current subscribers could use it as well. So if you got that in the Origin holiday sale, then you know, it's pretty good. It's not a bad deal. So a lot of people would have been checking out Star Wars The Old Republic. It's certainly what I saw. The server populations were quite high. I was on the day after Christmas, and I was on for a little bit on Christmas Eve, and the server pops were high. They were good high population that I was seeing heavy on the Red Eclipse. A lot of them were at sort of, the other two servers were at medium, and you know, Red Eclipse was heavy. So I didn't see any of the US ones because I'm not up at that time, so I don't know what the US ones. Apparently Harbinger was quite busy as well to see over on the US. So people were checking out the game, and you had 2 broken events. You know, it doesn't send out a good signal. It does not send out a very good signal for the game. And that's why we want better quality control. That's why it should be number one, top of the list, okay? Number 2 on this list is more PvP content. Okay, we know there's a Warzone in development. They've said so. They've got a Warzone in development. Why it takes them so long to release a Warzone? The last one came out in what, 2013, or was it mid 2014? I think it was 2013 actually. The last Warzone came out 3 years ago. You know, it was the last Warzone. So we really need more PvP content because, and that means more Warzones. More arenas would be nice as well for those who like arenas. I know I hate arenas personally, but just because I don't play it doesn't mean I don't want the content. It is long overdue, okay, PvP content, because the last kind of PvE content that was new was Shadow of Revan, which was December of 2014. When was the last Warzone? What, July 2013 or something like that? That was the Hutball Quesh Warzone. So we're long overdue new PvP content. It would be nice to see multiple Warzones. A new game mode would be quite nice. Also, they had that what was it? That asynchronous multiplayer, what was it? I can't remember what it is. Asymmetric multiplayer or whatever the hell it was game that they were making. Was it Shadowgrounds or something that they cancelled and they shifted development? I'd like to see some of the ideas from that put into PvP. You know, maybe they could take some of the concepts and ideas and put it into SWTOR, maybe get a new game mode or something like that with their Warzone. Would be nice to see a new Warzone, new game mode. Number 3 on this list is more raids and flashpoints, more multiplayer PvE content, okay? We've had the story. Give us some PvP, okay? Because we know the story is going to run from February till about, what, July? PvP, you know, if they're talking about a Warzone in development, you'd imagine it could come out in between the story, because I don't think it'll affect anything for the story. So it could come out in, say, July or August, and then maybe hopefully by October or November, we could get a new operation, or new operations usually come in twos. Really, get a new raid would be nice. We've been waiting for so long. They promised us at the end of Hut Cartel that we would never have to wait as long again, and we have been waiting since December of 2014. You know, that'll be 2 years for a raid, because of course 4.0 didn't have any new raids. Okay, they just scaled up the old ones. And to be honest, it's not going to be enough to sustain the end game sort of PvE community for a huge amount of time. We kind of realize that we're going to be doing the story, but you know, it would be nice to get new raids, new flashpoints we've included as well. It'd be nice if it launched with a couple of new flashpoints as well. Non-tactical, please, because tactical flashpoints have been a disaster. Have solo and have maybe just solo mode, but get rid of tactical mode, because honestly, it's fucking terrible tactical mode, to be honest. So I'd like to see even the return to normal flashpoints. That's going to be number 4, is get rid of tactical flashpoints. They're fucking useless. Okay, the players that do them, oh, it's the worst time. It's the hardest content in the game, okay, is a tactical flashpoint these days. The amount of horrible times we've had there, even as a healer, even as a tank, we've gone in there and thought, oh, fucking hell, what are you doing? The best one was I had a commando that was dot spec that never used any dots, and then blamed all of us for us constantly wiping on the boss. It was on a stream once. He never put any dots up. Never put any dots up. I know he was, well, I don't know if he was dot spec, but he was in the stance. He was in what the plasma cell, whatever, stands for dot spec. Same one that the Vanguard has for their dot spec. What is it? Assault specialist, the dot spec. But, you know, he was assault specialist and never put any dots up. I don't really know how to play assault specialist, but I know you put dots up in that spec. It is the dot spec of the commando after all. So, you know, it was like, what are you doing? Why aren't you putting, you know, dots on the target? You know, that would help before you criticize the rest of us. We just see so many bad players, and there's so little in the way of tutorials that teach you how to play. One of the things that was great about vanilla is the flashpoints gradually increased in difficulty. That's because they were designed to be played at that level. Mandalorian Raiders was designed for the mid-20s, you know, sort of 24 to 29, Really, that's the level range it was designed for, and it was fine. Nobody had trouble doing Mandalorian Raiders. You look at it now, people can't even clear Hammer Station. You know, Hammer Station Tactical Mode. You know, and people were clearing Hammer Station Normal Mode at the level it was intended to play. Hammer Station was, what, 17 to 23 or something like that was the level range for it. It dropped level 17 gear, so we'll say 16 to 23 or something like that. And it made sense because the flashpoints were balanced around the level of the players that were doing them. I would like to see the level range reinstated. Also make sure, what you could do is you could scale all the flashpoints up at endgame, and then use, you know, you could even have normal flashpoints at endgame. Maybe change the name of them. Maybe have hard and then nightmare or something like that for players who want to get, you know, want to get decent gear from hard mode from flashpoints, because small group content has kind of been neglected over the last 2 expansions. Shadow of Revan, they weren't great, to be honest. Well, in hard mode they made sense. Okay, Battle of Rishi and Blood Hunt, they were good in hard mode. Solo mode and tactical mode were terrible. Okay, the Forged Alliance going from tactical to hard mode is too big a jump. Okay, it's just far too big a jump in difficulty. That's the problem. It's not that the flashpoints are hard, it's that the gap between the 2 difficulties of flashpoints, or 3 difficulties, we won't count solo, in fact, it's not really a difficulty, that's just tourist mode. So the gap between tactical and hard is just too big. We need something else. Either get rid of tacticals and replace them with just normal flashpoints, and then make hard modes, because the gap between normal and hard wasn't that big. They had it right, the end game in vanilla. They had it right. You know, the hard mode flashpoints were, you know, they were decently challenging, but they were enjoyable as well. And you occasionally get a bad group, but most of the players you got knew what they were doing. Now, the reason why they changed this was because of queue times, okay? Which leads me on to our next point, which is point number 5, I think. 5 or 6, I don't know, I've lost count at this point. And that is incentivize minority roles to queue for group finder. Okay, this leads in, these 2 points are leading into each other. Give tanks, particularly, we mean tanks, when we say minority roles, we mean tanks. Healers generally are quite plentiful, but for tanks or healers, whichever role is the shortest, give them a reward. Look at what World of Warcraft does. You get a satchel if you queue as a tank or healer, you know, and it gives you a few things. It even gives you a chance to get a, what is it, an Empowered Apexis thing that upgrades your gear, your 650 gear to 690. You know, you get a chance at that, and you also get the account-bound Baleful gear, which is quite nice if you have an alt. You can just put your alt in item level 650 gear as soon as they hit level 100. So there is an interesting incentive to get people to run dungeons, heroic dungeons in World of Warcraft. I'd like to see a similar system brought in. What if if you queued for a story mode op, you were guaranteed a piece of personal loot that was going to drop in a box for that spec that was 216, and it was a tier piece, okay, for the spec you queued for. So you're guaranteed a set bonus, or even just a set bonus armoring if you queue for a hard mode flashpoint. Random set bonus armoring. Queue for a hard mode flashpoint, because honestly, radiant data crystals are not an incentive. Okay, they're useless. There's nothing to spend them on. Glowing data crystals, maybe, because we can buy crafting material for them, might be more of an incentive, but radiant data crystals are useless. Okay, the 220 Mark 1, Mark 4 stuff is pretty terrible. Okay, the higher the mark, the shittier it is in this expansion, we should point out. Mark 1 is the best, Mark 2 is okay, and Mark 4 is garbage, which is the common gear. Should point that out to anyone who wonders what the gear markings are. It used to be the higher the Mark 10 or that, it was the better. But this expansion, they've gone the other way. So I should point that out to people who don't know that. Really, there you go. That's what that is. So yeah, offer the incentives. You know, what if you got a set piece? Even just the armoring Or maybe even it could be an armoring mod or enhancement that was decent, because most people don't have full gear sets. They usually have bits and pieces of mods and enhancements. Something like that to incentivize. And I'm not talking about 220 stuff. 216 will be fine. Okay, most people are out of 216 anyway, but if you're gearing an ult and you want to do a bit of tanking, you're guaranteed a piece of gear. You're not going to be guaranteed a fucking DPS piece, which I got as personal loot. Thanks for that, BioWare. Personal loot. DPS gear. I'm a fucking tank. I don't want accuracy. Fuck you, BioWare. Same with the healer stuff. Don't give me accuracy stuff. I'm queued as a healer for your group finder. I'm a minority role. Don't give me off-spec role. Off-spec gear. Okay, I'm gonna get pissed off. That's all that's gonna do is piss me off. So there you go. There's another change I would make there. There's a little sneak under. Change the personal loot system to respect the spec that you're playing as well. We make it easier to gear a tank, make it easier to gear healers. That's what we want. We want more tanks, we want more healers. So again, reverting the flashpoints back to normal and incentivizing tanks and healers to queue for them would be what I would do with the game in 2016. But anyway, that's all for this video. Thank you for joining me. If anyone has any suggestions, there's any points that they'd like to raise, any of their wish list for 2016, so feel free to post it. Anyway, thank you for joining me for this video, and we'll see you again soon, and goodbye.